are here tonight with another episode, another lovely dream chat. And this is centered around time of day in the dreams and what that means. And yeah, just all the things pertaining to this. And so, all right, here we are the night before this Gemini super full moon. This is number 3. This is actually for the entire year. This is the 8th moon, super moon, I'm pretty sure. Because they were like,
8.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So there have been 8 altogether. I think there were a few new moons that were super moons. I remember that. And then there were like some full moon super moons. So yes, it's definitely that that time. So anyway, how are you feeling?
Well, I definitely feel the energy from that full moon, that full super moon. I also think that it's really interesting being that it's the last full moon of 2025.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I feel exhausted and run down.
Yeah.
Not like crazy bad, just tired, just very, very, very tired. I feel like the energy is being ripped out of me. So that being said, I think that probably gonna make some moon water and then drink that, and hopefully I get that energy back.
By that nourishment. Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been, for the most part, I would say like the past week, I've been like on a high for the most part. I mean, of course, there are ups and downs, peak
Right.
periods, pits, and so forth. But overall, I've been feeling really good. But it wasn't until like yesterday, and I need to look at the astrology to see when the moon actually moved into Gemini or, specifically what was going on. Maybe it hit something in my chart because I do have pretty sure my south node is, yeah, it's at the last few degrees of Taurus, or my north node, sorry. But then I have these other planets, Saturn, south node, and my ascendant are basically all in the last degrees of Scorpio. So the moon would have been making an opposition, especially as like it's getting fuller and brighter and so forth. And so I wonder if that what led to things shifting, because it's been a day. Like I've been super exhausted. I'm probably going to bleed with this moon. And it's been so much. The fact that I'm on here talking right now took a lot. But I know, as always with our chats, like I will feel some sort of like rejuvenation, and at least to get myself to bed. Like I'll have just enough energy to do all the like last minute things and then get in bed. So yeah, so I'm really excited to have this conversation. So when Alexis presented this topic, I was like a little confused because I was just like, well, I don't really like, I don't know why I couldn't grasp it. It's really interesting. And I think maybe because I didn't really think much about the timing, right? Like in the dreams, like I never really focused on that um until you mentioned it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like now it's like, so I'm reflecting on dreams that I've had in the past, that, and I'm like taking it like to a deeper layer, right, and considering the time of day. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how this unfolds. So those of you who are watching us live or who end up watching the replay, definitely let us know what time of day in your dreams is recurring, and also is like just how those times of day in your dreams come about.
Absolutely. I find this topic really interesting because I also didn't really think much about it when we talked about, what to do for today's um topic. I had just opened my or my dream dictionary up to a random page, and I saw like the interpretation for night. And of course I looked for morning and for noon, and
Yeah.
kind of was like kind of inspired by randomly flipping to the page, and then it had me thinking about the dreams that I did have, and the times of day that they tended to appear on. um, and so it was actually very random, very intuitive, and very just like spontaneous the way that it came through. And yeah, I'm really excited to discuss further how that shows up for us in our dream space, and like what the dream represented, and how that small aspect, seemingly so small aspect, could have played a bigger role in our understanding of where we were, than we ever thought. So yeah, it's I'm very excited. And that being said, back to the moon and everything, um I feel like I went through a significant shift in my cycle. And I had mentioned this, like my symptoms were really off kilter from my cycle schedule. And
Mhm.
I was trying to figure out why until this past month, like this past month, November, when I got my period like 6 days early, and it synced up all my symptoms. And it's so interesting the way that kind of helped me feel more grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to see, like, I want to go back and reflect on how my dream space was for like the couple months that my symptoms were off kilter.
Mm. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. And the reason I bring that up is because you had said that you are probably going to bleed for this moon, which is interesting in itself because you and I were synced, and it
Yeah.
was like the new moon.
Yeah.
And now we're both kind of like
Yeah.
readjusting our body.
Well, we both
It's
had
so
we
interesting.
both the previous moon cycle, we both had a shift because I was
Mm-hmm.
like significantly early. And I think you were actually early too. Were you? I feel like
I was 6 days early.
yeah, but for I don't know. So yeah, something shifted there. I mean, we were both early and then yeah. So anyways, whole tangent, but yeah, because like, you know, anyways, I'll share that after. But yeah, no, it's ruled by the moon here.
Yeah, which I feel like is why, yeah, that's exactly why it like sparked in my mind. And I'm just curious, like, I was just curious, just looking back on it, like, why that was happening. And now feeling much better than I did before because things just kind of like line up and make sense. I'm like, oh my goodness, I wonder how this came through in my dream space. So I'm probably going to be reflecting a little bit on that, while we continue into the next year. I don't know how soon I'm going to do that. But,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. So before we get into our chat, do you want to share about Dream Egos?
Absolutely. So, if you've been here for a while, you know that Urania and I are dream experts on the developing app Dreamigos. If you're new, Urania and I are dream experts on the app Dreamigos. So, this app is wonderful. It is a way for you to record your dreams in a variety of different ways and keep them private. Or you have an opportunity to record them and upload them to the Dreamline, which is a public community Dreamline where you can get guidance and interpretation from dream experts like Urania and I, and also just be a part of the community. One of my favorite things that comes with downloading and signing up for this app is you have access to a monthly free dream circle. They are incredible. We just had our November December one because we it was supposed to be November. We ended up doing it December, but we ended up having a dream chat where Urania and I and another dream expert, on Andrea Morrison, hosted and talked about nightmares and anxiety dreams. And it was just wonderful to have everyone come out and have a conversation around it and open up. And you know nightmares bring out a side of us that is more vulnerable and can be very scary and uncomfortable. So it was just a great opportunity for the community to come together and work through whatever's going on in their lives. But you can find this app on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. And if you haven't already, download it today.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great circle last night. It was a longer one. It was definitely extended because there was just so much engagement and so many like insightful comments and interpretations and so forth shared, not just from us, but like pretty much everyone that was there. And so it was really nice. So definitely check out the next one in January. Awesome. So one thing I do want to invite you all to consider as we're going through this topic, and I just want to say hi to Mary. Thank you so much, Mary, for being here. let us know in the chat how you're doing with this super moon energy, because it's a doozy. Okay, so what I want you to take into consideration or kind of think about, as Alexis and I just recently did pretty much 2 episodes on how the dreaming life and the waking life are reflections of each other. So as we're going through these different, periods of time throughout the day and how they show up in dreams, one, consider if any of these times of day show up in your dream more often than the others, and then also consider how that time of day, like how you interact or engage with that time of day in your waking life. For instance, maybe you're a morning person, so getting up with the sun, that dawn energy, is more in alignment with you. And how is that reflected in your dream space? Do you always dream about, like, are your dreams often in like this bright, or not bright necessarily, but the dawning type energy? Or, are you getting kind of a balance where it tends to be darker times of day in your dreams, right? Yeah, so see how that reflection might work for you. So anything you want to add about that?
No, I feel like you went over that really well. And yeah, we'd love to hear about your experience. Like we mentioned, this wasn't something that we really thought about too much until we thought about it. And it's been really interesting to reflect on the dreams and, the time in the dream space and how that just relates to what you're moving through and how you're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say for me, my dreams are mostly at nighttime, I would say. I would say evening or night. Like I have to really I'm thinking of specific dreams where they were during the day. So, and that really stands out, but most of the time it's like darkness or nighttime in my dreams, which is interesting because I feel like my favorite times of the day tend to change. But when I think about my favorite time, I love when it's quiet. Like I love pretty much around midnight, when either midnight or in the morning before anyone gets up. So I just basically love the energy of like the quiet time, especially this time of year. I just sent Alexis a reel on Instagram of someone in my local area who took some video footage of it snowing here at like 4 in the morning. And I have memories of being up like that earlier, between 4 and 5, when I used to work at a breakfast restaurant in Boulder, Colorado. And I remember waking up and at that time super early, and there's so much snow out, and it's just like the stillness, like it's like the snow, it is a thing where the snow, like there's some sound things going on with the snow. um Pardon my like lack of technical use or making sense right now. I am just like, my mind is not really here, but
No, I
it's
think
like
we
a
all know
sound
what you
barrier.
mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. Like there's this special stillness. And
Yes.
so I enjoy that when it comes to the time of day. So like around super late, when the world is sleeping, or like early in the morning before a lot of people are up. Those are essentially like my sweet spots, my favorite times of day. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there. What about you, Alexis?
I'm the same way. Most of my dreams happen at nighttime, and I mean are based in the night. Because uh, most of our dreams are at night, but I mean like, you know what I mean. They're based at the.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I told you guys I was tired.
Mm-hmm.
My dream settings are mostly nighttime scenes. And it is true. Like my favorite time of the day is nighttime. It's always when I was alone and comfortable and can do what I felt like. I just felt at peace always. Like I felt like during the day I was always on other people's time, but at night I was on my own time. And like even though I was I was always pushing the limits and kind of wrecking my morning the next day, it was worth it for me to have as much time to myself to recharge and do what I love and be alone and be at peace. And, it still holds up today. Like, I do the same thing at night that I did when I was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll put on a show or movie on my tablet. I'll play Sims, I'll have tea and snack and just sit in the silence with a candle going and just exist. And I feel like there's a lot of people who feel more comfortable during the day. And I can understand why. And I do feel like our Scorpio risings really play a big role in our comfortability in the nighttime and in the dark.
I agree with that. And I would also add for me, I tend to, the only time where I'm really like, oh, I need the daylight is when, and it doesn't happen. I mean, I can't even think of like the last time this actually happened, but when I would have nightmares, or maybe not even necessarily nightmares, but there would be like like different events that would happen. Say like, one, if I feel there's a presence in my home,
Mhm.
and I have the experiences where I wake up but I'm not fully awoken, and it's like I'm in this in between space where I'm definitely not dreaming but I'm definitely not awake, and it's not
Right.
sleep paralysis, but it's something else, and I'm having an interaction with whatever's in the space. Like those are periods where I'm just like, I really need the sun. Like I need the, like if I'm in this kind of nightmare, like dark, shadowy vibe that doesn't feel good, I'm like, I want daytime. But other than that, like I said, that's not very common, especially nowadays. So yeah, I like it being quiet. I don't, but I can see how some people, they like the security of having people around, like movement throughout, and they know they can go out and socialize and enjoy the day. And that's fun sometimes too. Like, like of course you can do your nature walks and so forth. So I enjoy it all, but my sweet spot is definitely like late night.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I even find that being outdoors at night is more comfortable for me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I have a photographer friend uh, who my husband and I are both friends with. And, especially in the winter when it's snowing, we'll get like a text at, like 9 o'clock at night, like, hey, do you guys want to go for a nature walk and like take pictures? And we're like, fuck yeah. And like, I remember when I was younger, me and my friends used to like go out at night and walk down to this. It was supposed to be like a cul-de-sac development, but they did the cul-de-sac road, but they never put houses in.
Yeah.
So we would walk to the middle of the cul-de-sac because there's no houses and
Yeah.
just lay in the ground and look at the
Oh,
stars at night and like, or walk down to the river because I lived on the river. Walk down to the river, and if it was summer, sometimes we'd go swimming in the nighttime, or we would just sit on like a docked boat. And so and even in the winter, like going out with my friends and like walking around in the snow smoking a joint and just like
yeah.
being in the silence and the crisp air and just
Yeah.
like having, it's just where I've always felt very at home.
Yeah. Yeah,
Again, it's
I don't have a nightlife anymore. So like, when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I remember I used to do that. Those were like the night walks, especially in the neighborhood. Definitely, especially as a child. But you just jogged my memory too of the one time we met in person for my birthday this year. And we, like, it wasn't at night, but I think it was in the morning, or it could have been like early afternoon, but it was like a very snowy day, and we had a J, and we just like, there was like a patch of woods right off the Airbnb that we were staying in, and so we like went out there and had a walk in a J, and then there was like a deer that we saw in the distance, and of course it was checking us out, we were checking it out, and it was just so magical. So it's something about the snow and like being out just in that
Mhm,
energy. But
absolutely.
nonetheless, yes. Oh, did you want to add something?
No, I was just gonna
Okay.
say absolutely. And honestly, that was so beautiful because the way that the forest was kind of like, I don't want to say set up, but like naturally was it was kind of on a decline. So where we were was like the top part, and then it was like as we walked down the path, we were in the forest, and there were these cute charms and everything kind of
Oh,
hanging from
yeah.
trees, and like it really did. It felt like we were walking through a threshold
Yeah.
going past like one of the charm areas into the forest, and then to like have that interaction with the deer and it be completely silent
Yeah.
even in the day.
Yeah.
Just
So
beautiful.
nice. All right. So speaking of the times of day, let's go ahead and do a run through and we will add in, our experiences with each of these. And again, feel free to share in the chat, in the comments, if there's anything that, stands out to you, or maybe it's your favorite time of day, either in waking life or dreaming life. And so, yeah, let us know. So we want to start with dawn. So what I have for the dawn is essentially, it's funny what came to mind. Like when I was looking at my dream dictionary, they mentioned rebirth and awakening and a return of hope. And
Mhm.
what I thought about was funny. I thought about the judgment card in the tarot and the major arcana and like the traditional, where there is this angel and it has a trumpet, and like basically these people are rising from the dead. Oh my gosh, Wednesday, just her shadow just freaked me out. I forgot she was in here and I was like, Sadori's not in here. Um, Speaking of rising from the dead. Um, but yeah, like it's this grand rising, it's this grand awakening. And so at least symbolically, that could, be what the dawn and the dream represents. I can't recall having any dreams where there was like this dawning energy, at least like as far as like the time of day and the dreams. But that's what I have here. So rebirth, awakening, and return of hope.
Yeah, so I have something similar. So I did the morning time and dawn. So for the morning time, a time of potential and enthusiasm, a new beginning, the season of spring, a youthful phase in your life.
Mhm.
And then for dawn, of course, the rebirth, renewal, hope, but also solitude, creativity, the dawning on new insights and awareness, new beginnings or phases in life, situations or relationships. And I have one dream that's distinctly based in the morning and the afternoon. And it's so funny because I kind of understand why. So the dream I have mentioned before, I had woken up in a strange bed, and I looked around the room and I was like confused because I had not been in that room before, and like everything was so specific from the details to the sheets and the blankets to the toys on the floor, and like I had looked next to me and there was a woman, sitting up with a coffee next to me, and then next the other
Oh,
side of me was a man, and and I had essentially what had happened after that was the man left the room to tend to the children. The woman and I had sex. The woman left the room, and then the guy came in and he had sex with me, and I got up, I both left the room, and I was like searching for my phone, and I'm like, I have no idea how I got here. This was a dream in which I definitely feel like I traveled like multi-dimensionally or universally or whatever it would be. It was it was an experience, but like I had called my husband and let him know where I was, and we both were like talking about how I have no idea how I got here because the night prior, all I remember is drinking with him and going to bed. So like this whole thing, I ended up being in. It was a whole thing. But I walked out of the room after that, and I essentially sat on a small porch and like sat in the chilly morning, drinking a cup of coffee, like essentially healing a little bit from a hangover, trying to like ground myself because I didn't know where I was. And at the time, I didn't start thinking about the times of the day in my dreams being significant until we decided on this topic. But this aspect of like renewal, rebirth, and insights and awareness coming through makes a lot of sense because I feel like this dream was really impactful in my experience with dreaming. It was very intense, very real, very I I traveled, and when I woke up from this dream for real, like I didn't wake up in that dream. I woke up in this reality. I had like a new understanding of myself in the dream space. And it kind of changed, even though I had already been on the on the way to understanding dreams prior to this, because I had had a dream about my grandfather passing away, and that really like sparked my spiritual connection with my dreams. This was definitely one of those dreams that had a high impact in my life, and definitely brought new understanding to myself in the dream space. So that was definitely, I think, to a marker in the beginning of something new in my life, because I think I had that dream in 2020. I don't know if I had met you when I had that dream.
No, because that was something you shared after we started talk. Because yeah, if you all
Yeah.
listen to our podcast, I'm sure like you've heard this because it's one of those like really significant dreams that you've had. And so I remember I forgot what topic that came up, but yeah, you had already had that before we met.
So like this was even before we started embarking on this journey of dream work
Mhm.
together. So
Right.
when I had that dream, I think it was actually probably the end of the year prior, like we started talking in January, February. I think I probably had this dream like towards the end of the year of 2023.
Yeah.
Um, so it felt like bringing in the
That
new.
makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. I didn't think about it until we started really like honing in on this topic. And I was like, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
And it goes
especially
to,
oh,
oh, I'm sorry.
no, you go.
I was just going to say it goes to show how each and every aspect of your dream can be significant and tell you something about yourself you had
Yeah.
no understanding of prior to.
Yeah, and sorry, I just got distracted. But yeah, no. So what I have for the morning, so this all tracks because what I have for the morning was also renewal again, intention setting, vitality, and also approaching a new chapter. So I definitely feel like this is approaching a new chapter. And it was like literally as you were approaching the new chapter of whatever, like with us meeting and so forth. And so um yeah, so I think that that's really powerful.
It really is. And like, it brings me back to what Andrea Morrison had talked about in regards to her lucid living, like how to go about the day space like you would the dream space with interpretation. And
Yeah.
like it's just, it brings to light just so much more complexity to our lives. I thought that
Yeah.
was so interesting.
Oh, that's really okay. So moving on to afternoon. So what I have here for afternoon is visibility, productivity, creative expression, and sometimes it can possibly indicate that you're in the middle, like being in the middle of things, or maybe the vibe of the dream is like, because we think about in the middle of the day, the peak of the day. So it can represent that kind of energy. What do you have?
So I did for this both day and noon. So for day I have the light, consciousness, awareness, clarity of thought, but for the afternoon I have midlife, a need for a break or nurturance.
Mm,
Um like if your association with high, it could be an association with like the high noon. It could associate, or oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. It may symbolize a crisis or a deadline for you. It could symbolize being awake and aware. It could also symbolize being hungry for knowledge, growth, and sustenance. Thinking about like noon, afternoon, like a period of time where you would get, you would. I feel like I'm always the hungriest at lunch.
mhm.
Like morning and dinner, like I'm not crazy hungry, but I feel like when I feel the most need to eat, like the hungriest, like where it really plays a role in like my distraction. So that's where I feel like maybe even the hunger for knowledge and growth comes from with that in the dream space.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I have here some notes on daytime specifically, or even bright daylight in your dreams, which would be like that high noon type energy. Is just it can represent your conscious wake life, or like yeah, what's happening consciously. And also, like you said, there's an element of, oh, I don't know if you mentioned this, but optimism and clarity, right? So if like this is the brightest time of the day or the brightest, time in your dream, that could be giving you the greatest clarity at that time. Like you're actually getting like a spotlight. And what's really interesting, as I was making my notes, I was also correlating these to the moon phases, like the dawn. And we didn't mention this, but the dawn is interesting energy because it can be like, so it is twilight, it's that morning aspect of twilight. And so there's kind of like this half moon energy, but then also like a note, like a dark moon energy, because it's still like that darkness and coming out of the darkness into the light. Um, but then you can also, and then I would say afternoon would be like the full moon energy, right? Where it's like full illumination, clarity. Sometimes it could be really intense, and you have that profound visibility. But then, like you mentioned, midlife. So then you can also correspond these different times of day to different times within your life, representing like an age. So there's different ways, again, you can perceive this aspect of time in your dream and in your waking life.
Absolutely. Did you want to share any experiences in the dream space around the afternoon?
Yeah, I guess I would say the dream I had, speaking of, lucid dreams. So I shared this dream here on the podcast before. I had a dream. Well, there's an ex that would continuously pop up in my dreams, and Alexis and I were in the midst of like we hadn't started the dream circle yet, but we were talking about it, and we were kind of, we were organizing it and talking about it and going deeper with it. And so we had mentioned we had an episode or chat on talking to people in your dreams, like actively, like through lucid dreams. And I was so fascinated by this. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I know exactly who I want to talk to in my dream. Like, not my grandmother. No, I want to talk to my ex. Like, why is he always here? So, long story short, he did pop up in my dreams very soon after my excitement. And I wanted to talk to him. It brought me into lucidity. And so I tried to talk to him many different times in the dream. And like, mind you, this dream was in the afternoon. I was at like a community center. He was in the kitchen cooking, and that's what he did in waking life. He was a cook. And so, like, and I was in there and I was trying to talk to him in the kitchen area. And then, people were outside on the picnic tables and stuff. So it was the middle of the day, right? Long story short, I couldn't ever get to him, right? And then I also realized, I think I realized this in the dream, but definitely when I woke up, that it didn't feel like him. It was like an avatar.
Mhm.
And as basically I was trying to talk to him and I was unable to. So I basically surrendered control to the dream because I was lucid, right? So I wasn't getting what I wanted, quote unquote, or so to speak. So then I just got frustrated in the dream and I was like, okay, show me what I need to know. And the dream took a different turn. And when I reflected on this, the interpretation and what came as a result of the dream is that like I needed to let go, basically. Like I got this profound realization. It's like, it doesn't, like, you need to let go. It doesn't matter. This isn't actually even him in the dream, so to speak. This is a reflection of me or something else going on there. And so let that relationship go. So it was an ultimate clearing. I think that's when I had something click. So there was that clarity moment. There was the visibility of, I'm seeing this for what it truly is, and I can move on. So, and that was really even the peak of him showing up in my dreams, because he had been showing up for a long time. And then like he was really active around that time. I had that clarity moment. And for a while he didn't show up in my dreams, and every so often he does, but it doesn't have like I don't really give it a lot of attention. Like it's just not, oh my gosh. So I definitely see that as being a peak moment in that specific recurring dream, you know, or the dream person. I thought that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I find it interesting too because now you know why you understand now why he was in your dream space. And I feel like that plays a direct role in why it's not that important anymore when it happens. Like there's not as much significance on it because you have already uncovered what it means. So you can kind of like the surprise factor is not as present. But yeah, that found awareness, that understanding, that light shining on the experience and situation that you were having. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have a dream for the afternoon or anything?
Yeah. So there are because I have most of my dreams at night, there are a handful that stand out to me. And um the one that really stands out um does so because it's so I had shared this dream before on dream chat too. Um and essentially it started in this like school like building, and there was something going on where we were being sold something, and I had been with a group of people I know in real life, and like at one point I had gone to the bathroom, and as I was walking back from the bathroom I came across this dream person who was very like outside of myself, and that was a very important moment in the dream. And the dream kind of went by, and I ended up leaving this place in a bus, and the bus had no top. It was kind of like resemblance it kind of resembled like almost what it would feel like to be on a hay ride.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I was on this bus traveling, and I just felt really happy, comfortable, and clear. Like everything was magnified and just bright, and I was aware of a lot of things that were going on in the dream, and I felt really comfortable. And I remember the way that I was riding in this vehicle was like my arms and shoulders were leaning on like the half wall, and I was just like closing my eye. Like I looked up at the sun was really bright, and like exactly how you would expect it to be between like 12 and 2 on a really sunny like summer day. And like I could feel the warmth of the sun on my skin, and like the warm air blowing like in the summer. And it was just, there was a lot of peace at that moment. And I felt very, even though the bus was filled with people, I felt very with myself and with existence, but in a way that also felt like I was by myself, but I wasn't. And it's funny because right after this, I had it like it crashed. There was this guy who was trying to like there was some evil aspect to it, and then I immediately like had to get into action and you know reach out to neighboring village. And anyway, but I felt like that was a really good understanding of, again, that awareness, that understanding, being awake, being aware in that moment, allowing everything to kind of like focus in and find like almost like a stillness, and just like everything was very clear.
Yeah.
And it's such a memorable moment, having that afternoon sun shining on my skin and warming me and making me feel whole and comfortable, especially right before disaster happened, because it almost prepared me. It like allowed me to center myself, and then when things hit the fan, I immediately knew how to move forward.
Mm, yeah. I like that you mentioned that warmth too. Like I don't think we mentioned that, but just like that warmth and just comfort too that it can bring. I mean, obviously there are varying degrees because it can come as like a really hot summer day or like a
Right.
hot time of day, but for you it was more like warming and comfortable, it seems like, especially with the breeze
Right.
as you
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it wasn't like hot and sweaty. It wasn't like gross. There weren't like flies everywhere. Like it was definitely a very comfortable, like warm, flowy. I don't know. I don't even know what word I want to use to describe it. Just very serene, and you really like, it felt like you just come into full awareness of everything all at once, and everything slowed down. And then like like I said, when things got really intense, I had already had the moment to be at peace, and then I could function in the dream more promptly and more prepared. And I feel like that reflects waking space too, like being able to rest and recharge. And then when things start to happen where you need to be more on your toes and decisive and whatnot, it kind of comes a little more easily.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely see that. All right, so our next one here, what at least what I have, I don't know if you combined like dusk and night together as
Yeah.
one. But so I'll share what I have for dusk. So again, this is that liminal space type energy. And so there's transition and endings, letting go. It also can be a time of preparing to shed, being that we're coming into, say, the darker night. So we're coming, like we're tuning in, or we're getting ready for like a rest period, I guess you could say. So then there's a beginning of turning in. And also, I like that there's this element of like with the endings, I get like the death energy. And this is more of from like the um ancient Egyptian perspective, where the setting sun, that setting time essentially is like the end of the day. And so you would often get like they would associate even the seventh house with like death. So traditionally, sometimes the seventh house in your birth chart can indicate endings and death. And so I like that. I found that here in this book as well, as far as the endings and yeah, letting go.
Oh.
I can add the night, I can add the evening too, since
Yeah,
we
go ahead. I did, like I said, I combined
yeah,
the
together.
dusk, yeah, dusk and evening to just night.
Yeah. So what I have here for evening specifically is when you start to enter into deeper emotional context within the dream, possibly you're starting to enter like the hidden aspects. Also, there is this like you're entering also into the quiet time. So I'm thinking about, as we mentioned earlier, people are going to bed or starting to like turn in. And so things start to slow down, get a little bit more quiet. And so, just thinking about like now I'm running through many dreams where that is reflected. And then I would say on the other side, since I feel more active personally, I have more things going on when it's nighttime and dreams.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Like most of my dreams. That's why the day ones and the morning ones stick out so intensely, because most, like I would say 95 to 98% of all of my dreams are at night. So for night, I have, the dark, the unconscious, and
Mhm.
shadow aspects of the self coming through, hidden aspects of yourself threatening to or working to emerge, a lack of awareness and insight, which I find very interesting. But it could be like you're in the dark about your own self or what's going on around you. So that could be an aspect of it too. Secrets. I also have in here that the night is associated with like the moon. So it can be a symbolism of the feminine aspects of the self too, like the anima, and exploring the depths of the personality in the self.
Mm. Yeah. So I don't know if you had one for midnight, but I can just throw
Oh
that.
no,
So like,
go ahead.
yeah, so basically so this was the way I even approach this too, is whenever I'm thinking about the times of day, I don't know, just the way my astrological brain works is like I see it in the chart too. And so midnight is essentially the darkest, like it's supposed to be basically that fourth house energy, right? So the kind of almost like the darkest part of the chart, or at least the timing. And so this is when you start to get into the deeper layers of the unconscious. Like here, I had an unconscious associated with this. Also, that sacred pause, suppressed emotions. I also threw in the shadow there, unseen energies, mystical things happening. Yeah, so then you start to get in those deeper layers. And also, as we were speaking about the moon, the afternoon, saying the afternoon is the represents kind of like the full moon. And from afternoon to dusk, you get in that period of like the waning moon from the waning gibbous. And then you have that last quarter moon, which is like the dusk energy. And then the waning crescent and like basically that dark aspect of the the new moon essentially is like that midnight night-ish. So you can kind of compare and contrast these different symbolisms, and also how they show up for you again in waking life in relation to your dreams as well. And you'll start to see, I love how it really indicates that we're kind of like everything is connected, right? You know, the time of day, the moon phases, you know, even like the stages of life or the seasons. And so I love it so much.
Did you have a dream you wanted to
Yeah,
share?
so basically I wanted to share, since you brought up with the moon too, I think this is perfect because basically what I thought about, because I don't have a lot of daydreams, like time of day in my dreams, I had two very profound dream experiences that involved the moon. One I would say was pretty much like a midnight type dream where, like, I mean, it was pretty much part of the dream was black, and then other parts of the dream was like a night sky basically. And then I had another dream pretty much like, I want to say within a couple weeks after that one, where it was one of those, like the moon was out basically during the day, right?
Right.
So I'm pretty sure it was like a gibbous moon. And so the moon that I saw in the night dream, like the midnight dream, basically it was like a full moon, so it was a spotlight, and honestly it felt like a super moon. And I remember I was laying in the bed with a friend slash like past client, and it was weird because it was romantic, and that'll be fun to revisit that from that perspective of the creativity and so forth. But anyways, I remember laying in the bed, and I'm just like, I look up and the ceiling's open, and it's just like this starry night sky. And I don't even remember if I actually saw the moon, but I remember there was the essence of the moon. And then I saw, like, basically there's this illustration that comes up a lot, or not illustration, but like, I guess you could say carving in with the ancient Egyptians, where there's the boat and then there's a sun disk on the boat. So it represents the sun's travel into the underworld and out of the underworld. And so that was in my dream. And I had the energy, like I saw like the black heart emoji. So basically the theme of the dream was like darkness, the void, black. It was like almost like the color theme was black. And I said, I've shared this dream before here on the podcast, and it's a very like special dream. It was very mystical. This was a dream I had as like right before I was doing a dream circle by myself, before I even met you. It was just before I met you. But it was just like, I mean, it was a whole profound initiation into my dream work, I feel, in being like guiding people through their dreams and so forth. And so especially to see that image of the sun in the boat. So it was definitely very mystical.
Absolutely. Wow.
So the second one, which the moon in the day, now this dream was very surreal and mystical too. So maybe it's just the factor of the moon. But I would say I was in the middle of things in this dream, at least like in the dream. I can't really speak of outside the dream because I can't recall. But anyway, I remember I was at like this old timey like castle. It kind of like the kind of building that would have gargoyles and stuff like that. So it was like stone castle like, or maybe even a fort. Who I can't remember quite well, but basically I was there and I was with different people, but we were all, I think we were about to have a meeting. And then I remember walking down the stairs, there was like a pool of water that we could get in, and we were in the water for a minute too. And then someone that was on the like the walkway by the pool, they called me out and they were like, "Hey, come check out the moon." And then I got out, of course, I got out and looked at the moon. And I remember telling them in the dream, I was like, oh, like explaining to them how you could see the moon in this phase, like at this time of day. So I mean, I can't really speak to how that part showed up as far, I mean, I guess it was creative expression. I think I meant
Yeah.
for the daytime creative expression. So literally in the dream, I was, you know, expressing just my passion and sharing about the moon and the astronomy and so forth. Um, so it was kind of like they were still profound, but they're different vibes of how that was coming through. So yeah, those are kind of my examples that I wanted to share and just comparing that.
I love that. I love that so much. That's so beautiful. And I really feel like that feminine symbolism too is coming through, the creativity, the feminine, but also like the secrets. Like I think about the one at night, like what was trying to show itself to you, like what secrets were coming through, and not secrets in like a negative way, but like the like universal existences secrets, like
Yeah.
um, no, but both of those dreams are so beautiful and have so much depth, and just adding that other layer of what, that nighttime and that daytime really represents in regards to that dream space. That's wonderful.
Mhm. Okay. Do you have a night dream? I mean, of course you have a night dream. Which one? Yeah.
So I
Or
have two fairly short ones that it's funny we both kind of shared two for this one. Um, so the first one has to do with the aspect of death in regards to the night.
Mhm.
So this was a very short dream, but it was very intense and very impactful. I was in the passenger seat of my cousin's truck, and he was going extremely fast down a hill. And I was looking outside. It was nighttime, but it was apocalyptic. Like there were explosions, meteors coming through, crashing, colliding. It was almost like the earth was under attack in some way or the next, and everything was blowing up and everything was in shambles, and he's speeding down this like really steep hill, and the radio's playing, and I'm just kind of like trying to take in everything. And then I look forward and there's a bridge that's collapsed,
Mm,
and we go full force into this bridge, and then I wake up.
mm,
And I feel like this was definitely the shadow aspect of the death of my childhood coming through.
mm,
And the way that I feel this really come through is I had spent a lot of time with my cousin when we were kids. And into adulthood, we lost contact. And so that's a part of my childhood that essentially has died with what I've outgrown and moved on from. And I think, especially the time in my life in which I had this dream, it makes sense with everything feeling like it's going too fast and I can't find my footing before it just all ends.
mm.
I would know I was in a very intensely just, I was struggling quite a bit. And I feel like that aspect of the night really emphasized like the death of an aspect of myself and like dealing with the shadow.
Yeah, I remember you shared that. You had that before we met, right? You,
Yeah, that
yeah,
was an older dream.
yeah. So, I mean, just the act of hitting a brick wall, like it just, I mean, that's it. You're at a dead end. I mean, it's very clear, vivid symbolism of that ending aspect. Um, Yeah, and one thing I didn't mention too that I have for the evening dreams is that it tends to can touch on like your greater sensitivities. And so again, that goes along
Mm-hmm.
with the shadow and whatnot. And so yeah, that dream definitely hit those points.
Yeah, I agree. And the second dream actually kind of relates to your second dream too. But in just a very small way. It was nighttime, and something that's interesting to point out in my dreams is that the sky is usually just void.
Hmm.
Like there's no stars, there's normally no moon, which I
Yeah.
find very interesting because I am an avid moon gazer, stargazer. Like I will stand outside in the cold and stare up uncomfortably for an insane amount of time to watch the moon and the stars and the clouds passing and whatnot. So
I
like for
oh
oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
just want to say I that maybe that's a common thing because I also mostly like the same you said, like just avoid. So when I do see stars or the moon, it really stands out.
Yeah, yeah. So, I was driving in a line, going very slowly, and we were all going up. We were at the bottom, but we were all making our way up this hill to this castle. And it was kind of laid out similarly to the new high school near me. And but it wasn't the new high school, it was actually just like a castle. And we were on our way up, and we were like, all the cars were going very slowly. And I was getting very frustrated. And I saw a turnout, and I decided last minute, right before I was about to pass it, I just took it. And as I'm driving up, it turns from a road to like a walking path. And now my car's tires are kicking up the grass and everything around it, and I have to turn around because I obviously don't want to continue to screw up the walking path. So I have to turn around and get back into this line and take that slow path up
Mm.
with all these other vehicles. And I find that interesting because that's definitely an aspect of my shadow self coming through as well. Um, really touching on needing to take time to get to a place, to get to a goal. Take your time, do the whole, like, learn everything you need to learn, experience everything you need to experience, and let things come in a timely manner when they present itself to you, rather than trying to rush something and it essentially being not as fulfilling, not as well done, not as enjoyable. Um, just that aspect of patience, time, and allowing things to just organically come through than to rush and speed through. So I think that period of my life too, that moment when I had that dream, it was touching on a reflection of my waking state, wanting to be further along than I actually was.
Mhm. Yeah. No, and this kind of also represents too, like that slowing down aspect of like the time of day. So the
Mm-hmm.
slowing down, which can also lead to like a pause or like a redirection, but like that slowing down will help you to really get to that hidden truth, so to speak, like the root of, what's going on. And so then again, also you're getting into those deeper emotional currents through that slow moving energy. As it's like the current, the energy is like slowing down and in that sense, like going even deeper and deeper, um, of like whatever direction you have to go or whatever's happening, in that way. So yeah, I mean, I think we really did well, like kind of going deep with these and giving examples. I mean, it's all kind of very straightforward when you think about it, and it's reflected in so many things as far as, the time of day, as I said, the moon phases, like the times in your life, those different stages, and it's a cycle, right? And so we can see how this cycle plays out in our life. Like maybe during certain periods of our life where we're going through certain things, we're having more daytime dreams or more nighttime dreams and so forth. So
Absolutely. So, this is your opportunity to pay attention to a new aspect of your dream space that you may not have paid attention to before.
awesome. All right. Well, I mean, do you have any last words or anything else that you want to add? I feel like I said, I feel like we did a good job on this. But
I agree with you. I feel complete. Like I feel like that was smooth, and yeah, it feels complete.
awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for sharing your perspective and your comments. Feel free to do that in the comments section. Feel free to like this video and follow us on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, all of those things. And yes, enjoy this super moon coming your way. Maybe you're listening to this and it's already happened. So yes, I think that's it. So sweet dreams, everyone.
Sweet dreams.